I am Alfredo Behrens here, discussing a negotiation case on organizing a rave. I've structured it for the program on negotiation for global studies at the University of Salamanca in August of 2019. In this case, we have two youngsters fixed on organizing a rave. You know, a rave is fun. One is Mary and the other one is John. Mary has about 300 followers. John has only 100. But John is very enterprising, and Mary fears that John may want to go ahead on his own and organize an alternative rave. She needs John to fold into her initiative. Now, 300, adding the strength of both, might not be enough for a great rave, but there are about another four dozens of smaller leaders, in the sense they have less followers, who may have ideas of perhaps alternative leisure opportunities. Not raves, but they may want to go to the football, and they may want to go to the beach and not attend your rave. So you need to fold them in as well. You have to find initially a way to bring John to collaborate with Mary, and then to work out how you could jointly attract the rest. In any case, if you get everybody in its 1,000 strong rave, it sure is going to be fun. Yes, of course it will be fun, if you can get the 1,000 there. But they might have second thoughts at the last minute, get cold feet, go to the beach, go to the football. You don't want them to have second thoughts about it. Once you have booked all the services like ice, food, beverages, the stage builders and the musicians, of course, perhaps even portable generators. No, that's too much for you to pay out of pocket, and then for these guys to decide that they've got better things to do. No, you want to lock them in. Very much like you once had to lock in the mobile communications technology after they decided that, you have built the antennas, I've given you the telephones, now you have to stay with me. You don't want to allow another wise guy to come up and wipe your market. No, you have to lock in your customers when you have to spend a lot of time and effort to organize something ahead of time. How would you do it? Yes, that sounds like a good proposition. 1,000 people at the rave. But wait, Mary, have you consulted with John? Because after all, you have a strategy, but is John part of that team? Because, it's very unlikely that John will join you in the effort of getting everybody there and securing all the suppliers if you haven't agreed on a criteria to split the benefit between you and him. So what would that splitting be like? Have you discussed this? Because if you haven't, you're going to have trouble at every corner. It will be in both his mind and in yours whenever you get together. So you have to clear that out, thrash it out very early on. What would be a fair way of distributing the benefits of your collaboration? Because if Mary wanted the whole of it for herself, the whole 1,000 people for herself, it wouldn't work. John was entitled to at least 100, so you won't be able to get John on board if you only offer him less than 100. Now, he'll go about it on his own, or he'll go to the beach with all his friends. So you have to decide on something which is fair for both, in order to entice them to collaborate. In the case of Mary, she initially could have organized a rave with only 200 people. So at least out of all those 1,000 people coming to the rave or expected to arrive at the rave, she would expect revenue comparable to 200 people. And similarly for John, he will expect at least a share of the revenue comparable to what he would have earned if he organized a rave for 100 people. Nothing less than that for either of them, because otherwise they don't negotiate. They go and do something else, right? We will know that this is very close to what is called the BATNA. BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. That is, if what they offer you is less than what you have gotten without negotiation, you will not accept it. So you see, the BATNA clarifies your mind. You will not get into a detail that makes you worse off than you had stayed out of it, of course. So, what would be the criteria that would both of them find fair, at least, for them to join and team up their efforts? Well, let us say that if they started off with a ratio of forces of 2 to 1, Mary had 200 people, John had 100, that's a 2 to 1 ratio. Well, the fair criteria would be, well, listen, we are getting into this hoping that we're going to get 1,000 people. We really don't know. That's our best bet. But whatever happens, we will get at least 300, and anything above that we could split. And what the ratio? 2 to 1. What about that? Well, fine. I like this idea of 2 to 1, but how much would it amount to? Well, I don't know, because, you have to wait until you have the rave. But one thing is for sure, you're not discussing about how to split 1,000 people, but the difference between what you would have had together plus what you will get from the whole of rest of the people arriving to your rave. And that is 700 people. So what you're discussing is about how to split the benefit of collaborating, which is not 1,000 people, but 700. And if you split it in that way, you will both be relatively happy, both Mary and John. Now, Mary and John should be happy. What about the rest? I'm not so sure. Because if you're going to get 700 people and just get all the revenue for yourself, Mary and John, the rest of the leaders will not have much to spare, will they? They will have just brought in their followers. But what for? For your benefit. It doesn't always work like that. And perhaps some of them will decide to go to the beach in any case. Nice day, sunny, I'll go to the beach. So you might not realize those 700 unless you entice the leaders to bring them to you very well ahead of time. For example, paying a ticket ahead of time, at least 50% of it. Come up with a solution. What would you have to offer in order to make sure that, the non-natural leakages might not happen, and you will get at least very close to the 700 people coming to your rave. 700 additional people coming to your rave. It will make a good discussion. See you at the tuition.